Imagine a scenario where the U.S. military could launch strikes inside Venezuela without congressional approval. Sounds like something out of a political thriller, right? Well, according to recent briefings, the Trump administration isn't currently planning such action, citing a lack of legal justification. But here's where it gets controversial. They're actively seeking a legal loophole to make it happen in the future. Let's break it down. Officials from the Trump administration, including Secretary of State, presumably Mike Pompeo, Defense Secretary, presumably Mark Esper, and a White House legal counsel representative, recently briefed lawmakers on the situation in Venezuela. The key takeaway? The U.S. isn't about to start bombing Venezuelan soil right now. The reason? The legal opinion from the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel, OLC, which does authorize strikes against suspected drug boats in the region, specifically excludes land targets within Venezuela or any other country. Think of it like this. The green light is given for targeting boats at sea, but not for anything on land. The execute order initiating the military campaign against these drug boats, which began a few months prior, mirrors this limitation. And this is the part most people miss. The OLC opinion reportedly lists 24 different cartels and criminal organizations operating in Latin America that are fair game for these strikes. However, the administration wants more. They're pursuing a separate legal opinion. Why? To justify strikes against land targets without having to get the go-ahead from Congress. That's a big deal. It raises serious questions about the balance of power between the executive branch and the legislative branch when it comes to military action. Now, a U.S. official cautioned that the situation is fluid, stating, "What is true one day may very well not be the next," emphasizing that Trump's final decision on Venezuela remains uncertain. The massive buildup of military assets in the Caribbean, including the Ford Carrier Strike Group, has fueled speculation about a potential strike inside Venezuela. However, the briefers insisted that these assets are solely for counter-narcotics operations and intelligence gathering. Think of it as a show of force and enhanced surveillance, not necessarily a prelude to invasion. The administration has been noticeably hesitant to involve Congress in its military campaign in Latin America. A senior Justice Department official told Congress that the U.S. military can continue its lethal strikes on alleged drug traffickers without congressional approval, a decision that has been met with skepticism by some members of Congress, and that the administration is not bound by a decades-old war powers law that would mandate working with lawmakers, as CNN reported. This suggests a deliberate strategy to maintain maximum flexibility and avoid potential roadblocks from Congress. Since September, the U.S. military has conducted 16 known strikes against boats in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific, resulting in at least 67 deaths. Officials have acknowledged that they often don't know the identities of the individuals on board before launching these attacks. Strikes are based on intelligence linking the vessels to specific cartels or criminal organizations. Administration officials have detailed the process for identifying and targeting these vessels, emphasizing the intelligence connecting them to the drug trade. Democratic Senator Mark Warner, a ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, acknowledged the quality of U.S. intelligence assets. However, he questioned the necessity of using lethal force instead of interdiction, a tactic traditionally employed by the Coast Guard that could yield valuable evidence. On the other hand, Representative Gregory Meeks, the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, stated that he heard nothing to convince him of the legality of the strikes, and that the briefers did not provide evidence linking the vessels or their passengers to the drug trade. Administration officials maintained that they possessed intelligence linking the vessels to the drug trade, but have been reluctant to share specific details publicly. Senator Marco Rubio has asserted that these strikes involve boats tracked from the beginning, with knowledge of their routes, drop-off points, and organizational affiliations. He also emphasized the rigorous process involved in selecting targets, stating that many potential strikes are avoided due to failing to meet the criteria. So here's the big question. Is the administration's pursuit of a legal justification for strikes inside Venezuela a necessary measure to combat drug trafficking and protect national security? Or is it an overreach of executive power that threatens to destabilize the region and bypass congressional oversight. What do you think?
Is it acceptable to use lethal force,